Senator Heidi Heitkamp.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your patience today. I think this is such an important issue, and this committee has unique jurisdiction, and I've watched as you've let members really get to the heart of what they need to examine, and I want to personally thank you for that. There's a lot of attempt here to unbake the cake, right? And I think I've been product, and I've been somebody who's been engaged in multi-party negotiations, including some of the large civil settlements that this country's seen. And I know how difficult it is to unbake a cake and to start saying, well, this could be better or that could be better. And I think Senator Warren just took us through the paces in terms of what the real options are. But I will tell you that one thing that I don't believe has been talked a lot about is that the fact of lifting the sanctions regime will, in fact, build a bigger, better, more economically stable Iran into the future. And as long as Iran is on the terrorism list, that creates incredible opportunity. As I think, Mr. Secretary, you have so appropriately talked about the challenges that they have economically today. If, in fact, the sanctions regime is lifted and we look 10 years into the future, Iran's going to be a much more stable economic power. I don't think there's any doubt about it. And so this might seem off topic for some people, but it's certainly on topic for me, which is the one thing that we could do that would provide competition against an Iran that has the ability to market their oil into the market and have the resulting economic growth as a result of marketing that oil is actually exporting American oil to compete with that Iranian oil. And it's very difficult in my state to explain why we should lift sanctions on Iran when we're sanctioned in the United States of America in terms of our oil exports. And so I'd like to hear from both the State Department and the Department of Treasury your response to that statement, especially looking into the future in 10 years when we know that that competition could, in fact, curtail that economic might of an enemy that's pretty powerful.
Senator, thank you for the question. Unfortunately, I'm not the right Treasury official to speak to the restrictions on sales of American oil overseas.
But you do manage the sanctions.
Yes.
And that is a big part of it. And when you look, as part of your job of managing the sanctions, it's to look at how those sanctions have an impact on the viability economically of Iran. So you kind of are, for me, the right guy to ask.
Well,
No dodging.
What I can say with respect to the sanctions is you're right. What's envisioned under this deal is to relieve some of the secondary pressure, not the U.S. sanctions against Iran that are bilateral sanctions, but the secondary pressure internationally on Iran's economy. And if Iran adheres to all of its commitments, Iran can expect some economic recovery. I think it's going to be many, many years in the making before Iran gets back to where it ought to have otherwise been today. But
you do understand there's a lot of concern about an economically empowered Iran and what that means for stability in the region.
I understand it to my very core.
I don't have a lot of time, and I think the chairman's been extraordinarily generous with all of us. So I would turn to you, Ambassador Sherman.
So, Senator, I think neither Adam nor myself can comment on U.S. domestic policy, though we do well understand how U.S. domestic policy has a profound impact on international relations and international markets. And so I'm sure that the particular interest that you have, that we all have, in American economic security and independence when it comes to oil and gas is something that has to be resolved here.
But there's been a lot written about the ability to provide some kind of energy security into Europe that could, in fact, be one of those soft power measures, Ambassador.
Absolutely.
And so I understand that this might be above your pay grade or whatever it is, but I just want acknowledgement that American oil moving into international markets has the effect of curtailing the economic power of Iran, the economic power of Russia, and a whole lot of people that, or nation states that really are not friends of this country. And this is an opportunity to give our allies a step forward and the energy security that may, in fact, strengthen the sanctions regime in the effect that we ever snap back.
I think no one would disagree that energy security for our country, for the world, and for that matter, dealing with issues of climate and how we manage that will have a profound impact on the development of countries and America's continuing to be the preeminent economy in the world. No question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.